Well, happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Oconee. We're glad to have you with us here on letstalkoconeesc.com. This gentleman I've got to my left of me, you've heard his name in several videos with the Oconee Planning Commission here for the last few weeks, and I actually wanted to bring Mr. Gary Owens on to discuss what he's involved with and an organization located here in Oconee here on this Sunday. So, Gary, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you introduce yourself and explain just what you do.
Okay, well, very good, Jeff. Well, I'm president of a group called the Advocates for Quality Development, and we were formed in 2006. And you've been here for a long time, so you probably remember there was an attempt by some developers from the coast that wanted to build something called Monte Lago. Remember that?
Or we refer to the high-rise condos.
The high-rise.
Correct. I do remember that. Yes.
Yes. There were, if you may remember, there were 6 towers. Each tower was 13 stories tall. They were on a very narrow peninsula that would have come right out into the middle of Lake Kiwi on the west side. And that attempt caused a lot of stir, as you remember.
Oh, I do. Folks, if you lived here and you know what he's talking about, we're talking about the land property that was on the Kiwi section that they sold. And there was, I would like to say, that was one of the worst moments in Oconee County history because everybody was fighting over that. But generally speaking, that did not happen, thank goodness, because that would have changed the dynamic of Oconee and what we see when we're on the beautiful Lake Kiwi. So,
Absolutely. And luckily we had a lady locally who lived in Beacon Shores that would have seen that development right from her house and blocking out the lake and the view, and formed AQD. I moved here in 2006, so I joined AQD and quickly became a board member, and we fought that development through the Planning Commission, the County Council back then, and then frankly the recession really is what I think took care of it in the end, but it never happened. So AQD has stayed active. We decided that it was important to have people who were looking at smart growth and smart land management practices in Oconee County. So we have continued to exist since then. We are not-for-profit. We represent about 5,000 people in Oconee and Pickens County. We're involved in Pickens County, although less so than Oconee. And we go to Planning Commission meetings, we go to County Council meetings, we go to Board of Zoning Appeal meetings, and we go to Sewer Commission meetings on a fairly regular basis. And our mission is really to affect growth and development in the whole county. A lot of folks believe that it's just around the lake, and that's just not the case. There's lots and lots of Oconee County, as you know, Jeff, that's zone control-free. And control-free means there really are no development standards to speak of. And that's an important distinction that allows developers to do pretty much what they want in those kinds of areas. So we're concerned about smart growth. We're not anti-growth at all, although some might say that about us. And we are in favor of doing smart development and good land management practices in Oconee County.
Well, specifically, let's move forward. You have spoke for the last several times at the Planning Commission about the development, I believe, is Kiwi River Plantation or something of the order is what it's called or named.
We call it the Kiwi River Project.
And we're kind of in that same situation we were back years ago when we had the high-rise condos. It seems like that is coming up to the forefront again. We're hearing from not only your organization, but this time it's from a lot of folks within the county are saying the exact same things. Fill us in about the conversations that you've had with the Planning Commission and how do your takeaway after you talk to them?
Sure. Well, do you want to describe the Kiwi River Project?
Yes. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about the updates on that. Sure.
Well, first of all, the Kiwi River Project was submitted as a preliminary plan only to the Planning Commission back in early September of 2023, and that's when it first became a visible project. It's 4 plats. It stretches from Holder Landing Road on 130 down to just north of where Newry is.
So just to get an idea, this is a little over 700 plus acres in a 2-lane stretch between the Little River Dike at Neary,
Yes.
past the second dike,
Yes.
just before you come into the Waterford side of,
Right.
of Lake Kiwi there on Highway 130.
It stretches all the way down. It'll pass Catlin Road, passes Greystone Development, and right up to where Newry is. And it's 750 acres. A number of residential locations on that property is planned to be about 1,900. So you can imagine what kind of a density that would produce on that stretch of road and right along the Kiwi River as well. So AQD, along with a number of other people, there were probably 100 people there on the March 4th Planning Commission meeting, coming out to talk about it and also to talk about development standards, which is what we have been really trying to hone in on and talk to the Planning Commission about. The development standards, which really sets the rules and regulations for what a developer must follow, talks about density, safety, traffic, any number of kind of other standards that need to be in place, really, as I said, are old and outdated in Oconee County. And if you want to do a comparison, go on to the Pickens County website, because Pickens actually has updated their development standards recently. And that's the kind of thing we have been asking the Planning Commission in Oconee County to do. Our belief is this takes some really professional work to be done. So we have recommended to the Planning Commission that they do an RFQ, go out and look at a professional planning organization that specializes in doing this kind of work, and hire them to really update and upgrade the development standards in Oconee County and do it now. We're frankly behind the 8 ball. In my view, and we need, it's way past due in terms of seeing this work done.
This is probably should have been done 15, 20 years ago. That may have helped protect some of the areas that are oversaturated now.
Yes.
And that was one of the things when I ran for county council that I preached, is that I took a look at what we had, and it is lacking grossly to today's standards.
It is.
20 or 30 years ago in Oconee, we hardly had anything. And now you've got development on top of the development. In just the last 3 years post-COVID, we're seeing subdivisions now pop up. And you brought up another good thing in this control-free district. There is no, so to speak, zoning. And when you start mentioning the S word, everybody starts freaking out about, oh, I'm taking your property rights. But the development standards gives a good foothold not only to the beauty that we grew up with here, but it also helps protect that. And with a development such as what potentially could come to 130, I see a nightmare brewing with not only the infrastructure, but the road access. The only way to get in and get out is off 130. And when you throw that in there with everything with this, we are in trouble. If we don't start talking, having honest conversations, and having the foresight to say, look, we need these development standards, not just here, but this needs to be everywhere else in Oconee County.
It does. Well, you're absolutely correct, Jeff. I mean, the development standards, again, aren't just for South Carolina 130 and not just this property. There are developments. Talk to James Coley at the Planning Commission. He's the director, as you know. James is a very knowledgeable guy. He has shared with us various developments that are already been given to him for approval around the county. This is the biggest one by far, and it produces a huge amount of risk because of the density and the kind of traffic and cars that will be produced from it if it were to go in. But these standards are needed all over the county. There is zoning in Oconee County, as you know. Matter of fact, we helped draft the original zoning enabling ordinance back in 2008 and 2009. It was passed by the county council at that time in 2009. And so there is zoning around, but a lot of it is around the lake, because those were the owners that were extremely concerned at the time to put some kind of controls in place. And luckily, we do have a lake overlay that goes 750 feet back from the full pond that protects a lot of the land right around the lake. But a lot of the areas that are control free will not have any of the kind of standards that are in place in a lake residential area or within the lake overlay. So we really would like to see this done now It does take, as it says, some professional help to get it done, and we've encouraged them. I've spoken at the March 4th meeting, the March 18th meeting, and again at the April 1st meeting, trying to encourage the Planning Commission to do that. Remember, the Planning Commission is an advisory group. You know, they don't have the statute or the power to enact anything themselves, but they have all kinds of responsibility to write, draft, and then recommend to the county council the kind of standards that I think we need in this area. The Kiwi River project, if you just take 1,900 homes and maybe a ratio of 2 to 1, let's say, and you put 3,500 or 4,000 cars plus onto 130, just going down towards Seneca, you can imagine what kind of a traffic issue and a safety issue that could present.
Well, you're right. I went over and flew the drone. There were some folks that wanted some aerial video of this area so that they could actually see it for themselves. So it took me, once I got done with the drone shoot, it took me at least about 5 to 6 minutes just to pull out to get back on 130 to go back towards Seneca. And this wasn't even during a drive time. It wasn't in the morning.
Right.
It wasn't in the afternoon. This was like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Sure.
It took me 5 minutes to get back out to go back towards Seneca. So I can only imagine what it would be like if we had these 1,900 homes. And let's just say that the 1,900 homes, there's 2 people living at 2 per car. That's a whole city. That's that's come up out of the ground overnight, knowing that you have to also take a look at the construction of that river, the dike. Has Duke Power been asked about this? Because I went and pulled some pictures of the beginning of when they built the dike back in 68, 69, and I guarantee you it wouldn't be made to stay to today's standards with all of the amount of traffic that it would be taken into account. So has Duke Power been reached out about this?
Well, yes, I've talked to the officials at Duke, and you know, Duke's in a position. You know, clearly they have said that those dikes and the roads across those dikes can't be expanded.
Exactly.
Of course. And the developer that's presented this preliminary sketch plan to the council has said they're going to request 4 or 5 road cuts onto 130 that would access those dikes as well. So Duke's position is, and I understand their position is, you know, they're not in the power or in a position where they could, quote, veto such a development. But they are interested in it, and they want to be sure that how it might affect, for example, when they do, if they had to announce some sort of a traffic issue associated with something.
Well, let's just say, for
plan.
example, God forbid that there's an emergency at Oconee Nuclear and we have to do an evacuation. Has anyone actually sit here and thought about that, what would happen?
Well, yes, it's being thought about. As a matter of fact, I was on the phone last week with Scott Krein, who's director of EMS for Oconee County. It was Duke's responsibility if something, as you say, God forbid, that ever happens, would be to notify the county that there was an issue they needed to evacuate.
But you're trying to evacuate an area that has 1,900 homes in it.
Right.
That's no easy task.
No, it isn't. But also, I would say that in deference to Scott, and I hope to meet with Scott in the next week or two to really have further discussion. Scott's got a very well-developed evacuation plan. As a matter of fact, he was very helpful and candid and said to me, you know, we really are lucky compared to other nuclear sites around the country. We're not in a huge metropolitan area. We're in a place where, you know, generally the population is lower. So we're not at some sort of maximum capacity today. We're not there. So there is room for more cars to be evacuated. However, one of the other things that we found out in our investigation and work here, we met with DOT, the engineer that manages this part of the state, and he took me through, and our AQD board through, how they manage traffic and traffic studies if this were presented to them to view. And they said, well, we rank intersections in the state. I said, well, that's interesting. How is 123 and 130 ranked as an intersection? What are your scales and what do they mean? He said, well, we rank them, it's very simply, A to F. A is great. F is it's already a problem. I said, where is 123 and 130? It's an F. So that's a different issue. That's not necessarily related to the evacuation, because Scott assured me that they have a control plan and how they put officers at all intersections and manage lights and those kind of things. So I have confidence that certainly the Oconee County and he knows what they're doing. However, just imagine to an F intersection and then the traffic that would happen with that. So it really is, it does create a number of different problems and issues. The other thing that has to happen with this development, of course, is they have to deal with sewer. And
there's a subject that no one wants to have a talk about.
No.
I mean, we're already, seriously, you have an infrastructure issue that's got to be taken a look at down there too. The closest sewer lines that you have in that area is across Little River. Neary has the
Yes.
hookups that was provided to the city of Seneca came in, I think, in the late 90s, early 2000s, and they developed and they're maintaining that sewer pump down for Neary. So you've got to look at that, and then there's the water aspect. You've got to have drinkable water.
You have to have water, of course.
So we're taking a
Power,
look,
water,
sewer, all
of
of those
the
things.
infrastructure would have to be there. So there is a lot of uphill work, certainly, that the developer would have to do to make it happen. If they really do file a formal plan, which they have not done yet, because to our knowledge they've yet to announce that they really own the land yet, then they would need to go to South Carolina DOT and file an application for the road cuts with them. DOT then accordingly would do an intense traffic study. We would like to see, frankly, if that ever gets to that point, that the county gets involved with that as well, at the expense of the developer, and pays for a traffic study to be done, and have the county manage it along with DOT to be sure that it's complete and thorough. They'd have to go to DHEC on the sewer issue.
Right.
Either they have to connect to the sewer, which is a huge issue, going down crossing the rights of ways and crossing part of the property in Seneca, et cetera. Or another option is they could build a package plant on the property. Now that's not in the drawings and not in the plans, but that would take away a fair amount of property, I would assume, if they were to go that approach.
Not only this is, of course, Duke property, but the riverside, the river aspect of which is the Kiwi River. How much does the Army Corps of Engineers have to have a say in this development?
Well, I've talked to the Army Corps about 2 weeks ago, and at least at that point, they weren't terribly aware, because they've had some staff turnover recently, and they weren't terribly aware of the project. We made them aware of it, and I sent them some maps. They've sort of taken it from there. The main interest I think they have is because that water, of course, comes out of Lake Kiwi, feeds down through the Kiwi River, goes down into Hartwell, and on into the Savannah River Basin. So I think if there was for example, in the plat drawings, they have shown a marina on the water. Well, clearly that would have to get approval by the Army Corps of Engineers.
Clearly, if the lake of Hartwell goes down 5 feet, there's no water in there. That's another good thing. I mean, being born and raised here, if Hartwell goes down 5 feet, that turns into the riverbanks. There is no. Okay, that makes me feel a bit better. So there won't be a marina in there.
Well, and it's not like a huge marina,
right.
I don't think, but it is a marina for at least some boat access, some canoe access, and those kind of things is what the developer explained to us.
Okay.
But they would have to cross that bridge with the Army, logically.
I want to ask, since there's been so many people to show up at the Planning Commission meeting, we're now seeing them show up at County Council meeting and express, their feelings about this.
Sure.
If folks wanted to get involved,
right.
How and what do you recommend they do to get involved so that they can let their voice know of how they feel about this project? I've always said the more the merrier. The more people that have a say in of how they actually feel is better off for the long term, so that our elected representatives know how we feel about this project. How can they get involved?
Great question. Well, I think the first thing that I would advise any of the citizens in Oconee County, and I do encourage them to get involved, is to have the facts. It's important that when you take time at a planning commission meeting or a county council meeting to be respectful, to be straightforward in your facts, and try to present a logical amount of information and request if you're making it of the organization. If you go to our website, which is aqdupstate.com, you'll find a whole section that's devoted to the Kiwi River development. You go to the top of the website, over to the right, there's a drop-down menu that says More, and the Kiwi River development's right there. We have all the current data and facts that we know so far about what's been presented. and we'll keep that updated. In addition, we will update periodically by sending out email blogs and those kind of things to our members to keep them updated as well. So people should come and talk to the Planning Commission. Again, they're advisory. They're there to listen to input from the citizens. And I think add some emphasis about development standards to try to get more support for that to happen, and then encourage them to advise and take action with the county council. I think people speaking in front of county council also is a smart thing to do. It's certainly, there's no decision for them to render at this point, so people should be aware of that. But to let them know their feelings, and both the council and the planning commission have said publicly they want to hear from the citizens. From my perspective, this is one item that's big enough right now, everybody should get engaged and do so.
And we want to make sure we understand that your organization is not against development, but it's wanting responsible growth. And we've said that, and you've heard me say that here on the show numerous times. It's responsible growth, but to have a game plan in place to protect not only now, but in the next 5, the next 10, the 15, 20 years. We know that Oconee is going to look different in 20 years.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's inevitable. We're going to see change, but making sure that we see the appropriate change, that we see the appropriate growth, and we have a set of standards that's going to protect future generations to come for Oconee.
Jeff, absolutely. Our term that we use often is smart growth and smart land management. You hear the stories about the overbuilding that's happened already in the Pickens side. We've all driven the roads in and out of Greenville and see the growth that's taken place. We don't want to see that sort of unmanaged growth happen in Oconee County, and I'm talking all over the county, not just the project we're talking about here. Again, there are many developments. I think James Coley told me recently that the applications for developments in Oconee County over the last several years have gone up something like tenfold. 10 times. That means the growth is happening all over. And if you don't have the right standards in place to give to a developer to say, yes, you can build, but here's the density standards. How many units per acre can there be? If you have those kind of standards in place where they know coming in there are some rules that they need to follow, we certainly at least have a chance of not ending up with a mess 10, 20, 30 years down the road.
All right, Gary Owens has been our guest. Gary, thank you so much for joining us.
Jeff.
I appreciate all that you're doing.
My
and keep up to date, keep us up to speed. If anything we need to talk about, let us know. Again, stay tuned. We've got Chris, Cathy, and Rannie going to be joining me on the other side as our Sunday edition of Let's Talk Oconee continues right after this. It's District 2. You're invited to a special meet and greet event with India Lancaster, candidate for Oconee County Council District 2. Join us on April the 12th at 6 p.m. at the historic Walhalla Depot. Enjoy an evening of good food and great conversation as India shares her vision for our community and why she's running for county council. This is your chance to ask questions, voice your concerns, and get to know India on a personal level. Food will be served, so come hungry and ready to engage in meaningful dialogue. Whether you're a longtime resident or new to the area, your voice matters, and India wants to hear from you. Please RSVP to India at indialancaster.com to secure your spot at this important event. Don't miss this opportunity to meet India Lancaster and learn more about her plans for Oconee County. We'll see you at the Walhalla Depot on April the 12th at 6 p.m. This announcement paid for by India Lancaster for Oconee County Council District 2. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome in to the studio here at Let's Talk OconeeSC.com. And as you can tell, there's what are you doing, Rannie?
Are we on?
Yeah, we're on.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, hold on a second. Let me zoom this in. What you're eating chicken over there?
Yeah, I found this coupon in our new paper for Kentucky Fried Chicken. You get an 8-piece over there, 35% off. And I thought I'd go try it out. Sorry about that.
Oh,
put this away.
And there's Chris Ruin laid back in the easy chair. Chris is under the weather today. Chris, how you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling good. I tell you what, after listening to that interview, That Gary is really a smart guy.
Hey, I really enjoyed having that conversation with Gary. Just it was an amazing conversation, and a lot of folks have made some comments. We've got one on here that breaks it down a little bit further, but a lot of folks enjoyed the interview, and I appreciate Gary taking time out of his schedule to join me and setting that interview up. But Gary's a wealth of knowledge, and I think Gary is doing such a wonderful job trying to do his best he can to bring awareness that we do have an issue here. And, none of us, I think, sitting here at this table, and Chris, I don't think any of us are against development, but I think that there can be some checks and balances with proper development and proper planning as we go forward. As I said in the interview, Oconee is changing. In the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be things around here that you and I sitting here are collectively not going to believe that the change is happening, but we can be prepared and we can be responsible with the growth going forward to making sure that things are protected where you have checks and balances. We're not overloading or infrastructure, things like this. And, I'm going to say this. Al Shadwick checks in and he says Duke Power is responsible for 95% of the development in Oconee. I'm going to agree with that because 95% of the development was property that Duke got and had when they built the lake, that they turned around and they spent sold it for millions. So Al, you're right. I mean, I've been following your comments and there's a lot of things that Al Shadwick says that does make sense. And Al's a good guy. So yes, Al, I agree with what you're saying there. 95% of the development is Duke Power. And we've seen it before. Take a look. Kiwi Key. What was responsible? Well, it was responsible from Duke. Duke had the property and they worked with a group Certainty, I believe, out of Florida in the 70s. So good comments. And David Dowell, I don't know if Chris might be doing this tomorrow. He may be blowing up helium balloons for tomorrow and get ready for the eclipse. I wanted to blow up the dolls and go from there.
So, Jeff, can I say one thing? Because
yes.
Based on, okay, this is what everybody needs to really understand. Gary really had some excellent points. And I've said this for the last couple of years. In fact, when I had my life threatened, when I talked about it back in 2010, we're not against development at all. We're for smart development. And the thing that is shocking to me, when you listen to Gary talk, and we all see all these changes and this influx of just everybody coming in here, you can control that so it's smart, but this is tearing the county up. And the Planning Commission, when I talked to them, and Rannie was with me 18 months ago, I told them, I said, because all I hear is their advisors. The problem is this, they're a bottleneck. I told them when I presented, I said, you guys are a lightning rod for the council to keep the heat off of them. And the reason the OCC has been successful in basically keeping it to the point where anybody could do anything they want in this county is because they inundated and intimidated the council for the last couple of years. We saw it happen. Now you see what's in control. We have a comprehensive plan. You have a chairman on the Planning Commission saying they need more input. We spent almost, $80,000-$90,000. It's exactly what people are saying, and they keep saying we need more before we talk to the council. It is delay and deflection tactics. That's all it is. Thank you.
Chris, I got something for you. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm going to play it. You ready?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yes.
You want to comment on that?
Yeah. You know what? I'm a dumbass. Well, according to our auditor, Christy, my friend, I'm a dumbass because I had some good questions. Here's the thing, and everybody needs to understand this. You've got this conservative group, and they're always talking about funding and budgets and everything. Okay, this is important. Everybody understands this. We have a classification called agricultural residential. Now, when that happens, you have people getting huge discounts on property. I pay about $3,000 here. I know there's somebody that's got 12 acres on the lake, and they're paying about $800. Think about that. I have just a little over a half acre. Somebody else.
It went away.
That's on the link. Okay. Now, what's important is this: the people that legitimately have agricultural residential, they deserve it because they're doing something with it. But the problem is this: we have that on the books. Nobody ever audits that. So you have all these thousands of dollars that we could be having in taxes that we're not getting legitimately. And when I kept asking, who is responsible for that? That's the auditor. Now, in one of my old jobs, first jobs, I was an auditor, and I was a crap auditor because I couldn't use an adding machine very well. So they kept making me foot a phone book to try to get my speed up. And I said, to hell with this, I'm quitting. So the point being is, nobody is auditing this. Once they become agricultural residential with that huge discount, nobody does anything. And when I was talking, I was pinning down Christy because she was degrading me by calling me little man and all that. Okay. The point is this: somebody is not doing their job, and we are leaving money on the table. I'm not advocating whatsoever about agricultural residential. If you have it legitimately, you deserve it. But there's no reason why people that are less fortunate than me, I can afford to pay extra, but that's not fair to the people working every single day, that they're getting screwed because we don't have a process in place. And what she did is she said, because I was asked that question, she called me a dumbass. Okay. And I am a dumbass. I'm a dumbass for asking dumbass questions because in the end, I usually think, hey, this is pretty basic stuff. Well, it's not. And there's a lot of money.
All right. Well, thank you so much there, Chris. I have what was your new title tonight? You wanted me to call you. It was Generational Proprietary Special Interest Political Establishment, Chris Ruin.
From Tony Adams, a.k.a. Dumbass. That is it. That's what we are now. Think of that. Where the hell? I mean, I had to read that thing so slow. I didn't, but it was great, and I love it. Thank you, Tony, so much.
Generational Proprietary Special Interest Political Establishment. Can y'all tell me what the hell that means?
Well,
You know what it is?
I put all those P rambles in this one file I got. It's called TLTR, too long to read. I don't even look at them. That guy has invalidated his own self. He can give himself awards all he wants, but nobody's reading that shit. I mean, more than three paragraphs, you're losing people.
Well,
Hey,
it's contradictory too. I mean, just
and it's and you're right. Any which way the wind blows, that's where he's going with that stuff.
You guys
when we
remember
first started the show, Tony Adams hated the Journal. Now they're best friends.
Yeah, the Journal really hates me.
Oh Lord!
I am a master loser.
They're even making fun of our names, Jazzy.
I mean, look, it's part of the game. Does it really bother me? Not really. I
at
wear
least
it.
Your name's not Willie.
Yeah, I wear it as an honor.
Willie,
I wear it as a badge of honor that I can get up under their skin so much that they would if you want to know what we're referring to, it was a post and tell Willie. Someone wanted to know why I was knocking their report about them, the $10,000 or whatever that was allegedly missing from the newspaper or from the recreation department. Now, if I remember correctly, I can go back and listen to it. I don't think I ever knocked the reporting. I just said
I did.
Yeah, Cathy was the one that said
I
that.
did.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cathy said that.
Yeah, I said that because I felt like there wasn't enough information for them to actually do a story, and it was thrown together.
Jazzy Cathy did.
Yeah. So anyway, but then the post was, why are the city paying me, blah, blah. Well, the city doesn't pay me. And that started back over a year and a half ago from someone else, a part of the OCC, that kept pointing their finger and making posts that this show was sponsored by the city of Seneca. Let me be clear. This show was never and has never been sponsored by the city of Seneca or any entities. It goes on to Julian Davis too, that Julian was a big sponsor of this show in the radio studio. Well, my radio show and radio station, yes, but Let's Talk Oconee was no. But anyway, I'm a master loser with lots of emoji icons placed on a certain individual's page. But you know what? Hey, look, if they're putting it in the paper about me, we must be doing something right.
Any publicity is good publicity. So thanks for the Journal starting to acknowledge us as legitimate
free advertising.
No, I wasn't. No, I'm not legitimate. I'm supposed to come to them. They're the legitimate source for news.
But they're starting to recognize that that's not the case anymore.
So
anyway.
Jeff, can I add one thing, please?
They were asked to print.
Hold on a second, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I want to, before we go to Chris, we're having this conversation now. Explain to me about this. What was it? This newspaper article. This goes with Gwen McPhail.
Right.
Is the one that has caught this. Something about the $500,000 to keep the current sewer down there at Golden Corners Commerce Park. What's up with that?
There's like it's like a 5-sided star of information, but earlier in the year, maybe into last year, the Journal wrote an article, and they said that the county spends $500,000 a year sending a pump truck down to Golden Corners Commerce Park and putting water into the sewer system so that they can use it and test it and make sure it still works.
The Journal reported that.
The Journal reported
Oh my God, I can't believe that.
Just a terrible mistake. The county came around after, but see, Miss McPhail used what she found in the Journal because she thought that was a legitimate news source, not the Inquirer. But
the National Inquisitor or the Seneca Urinal and Constipation Crier.
Well, so then she got mocked and laughed at by Mr. Hart for saying something that wasn't true. So she asked them to.
He mocked somebody for giving incorrect information.
Hold on, we got more.
Like I said, there's like five sides to this star.
Oh, that's a pot and kettle.
And while he was shooting off at his mouth, like Yosemite Sam, he started throwing off on that Heritage Festival area down there, the farm center, and talking about how they.
All right, now make sure you slow down here. Make sure you slow down here. Let's make sure we get it right because we don't want the words twisted.
Hey, I just give it the way I heard it. The farm center may or may not have been on the up and up with all their contracts, and he started pointing at Miss McPhail's son getting the contract.
Did he make it up?
Well, no, he didn't make a map.
Just making sure.
But turns out that the McPhail that was on the board at the time that did it, I don't remember if it was her or her husband was on the board, recused themselves from that bid award.
Imagine that.
And their son still came in under everyone else, and that's who got the thing. So there was nothing wrong with that. Well, then you fast forward to Tuesday night at the council meeting, and Stanley, I don't know his last name, but he got up there and was talking to the council about how maybe they shouldn't give false information about a nation, and he provided the information needed.
Well, I tell you what, I actually have a little snippet now. Let's go back to that county council meeting and listen to this.
All right.
Good businesses just to smear a person for whatever the reason. And it's not fair, especially the organization has nothing to do with it. And half the time, especially those that are providing bids, that process doesn't involve any of us up here on council. Unless I'm unaware of something going on.
That joke sticks his neck into everything.
Doesn't involve any
he puts his neck into all of it
until the award comes into play. So when it comes back to council, it's council's job, or a council member's job, to decide if they should remove themselves from the vote, which I have when it's involved any council members. But I also know of a time when you had a family member that actually received a bid from the county, you mentioned it, and you voted on it, which I really don't have a problem with it because of the way the procurement process was. But you make a statement even tonight to kind of say, here's what it is, we're giving
names, just because somebody has a different name doesn't mean that people don't know the connections. And that's a good business that was awarded that contract. And I didn't stand up here and say anything about it because it was a fair award for the process. And it's a good business. And they're good employees. But when we make statements just to try to be derogatory, whether it's to a council member or whether it's to an organization or it's something involving politics, you're damaging more than the person you're actually trying to go at. And I think if we sit here tonight and you look at that, it's not just a person.
I think what Glenn
you're trying to
says
go at.
next is
It's hundreds and thousands of people. So I caution you to make those, before you make those statements, and before somebody gives you information, you're like, hey, watch this. Just do a little bit of factual information so you don't have to make apology and we don't have people that are damaged by a simple comment that didn't need to be made. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Davis, I don't remember saying anything about you buying a tractor. Didn't even know you had a tractor.
I didn't buy the tractor. It was a statement that was made up here. I'll be glad to pull them up.
And as far as a relative of mine, they worked for another company, and the company didn't have the same name, didn't have Hart and be voting for Hart. It had a different name. It was some other grading company that he happened to work for and run a machine. And I asked, should I recuse myself? And the majority came back and said, no, it's not necessary. So I just want to make sure that this molehill that we got don't turn into a mountain.
I agree.
And the part that I mentioned about the bid, that bid did happen, and one of the family members got the low bid, got the contract. That part was true. So again, were you trying to sabotage this? The biggest part of what I said was true.
So the biggest part of what he said was true, but 90% of a good lie is generally the truth.
Yeah.
That's how you make believable lies. But I'll tell you this: Glenn Hart said what I said was mostly true. Kate Durham said is all true. Luke,
Bingo.
there's a difference in them statements.
So Jeff, can I say a couple of statements? And
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Okay. So this is what's important. We got a lot of people watching the show. People need to really think about this. They watch Gary Owens. Now, he's a smart guy. He's just a regular guy like me and Jeff and everybody else. Did Gary Owens look like a globalist or a communist? Think about that. Now, I'm going to tell you something. While Matt Durham was on sabbatical or suspended because he was arrested for domestic violence, even though we don't know what happened.
Chris, let's get it right. He was not suspended until he was indicted.
Oh, okay. Indicted. I don't know what happened afterwards. He went before council and he said that what was going on right now with anything having to do with smart development was the work of globalists and communists trying to take people's property rights. That is like, I want people to understand he is the leader of the county. That is weird as shit. Tell me, you have to tell me. Not only that, when I went before the planning commission and talked about getting consultants and everything like that, he immediately wrote a letter to the council saying that there was no growth in the county. 6 months later, you're seeing exactly what's happening.
He did. He said 2 years ago.
Here's the thing.
And we're the number one growing state in the United States.
And he said there was no right, Rannie. You heard that,
right?
He's
right.
A few months.
Mm-hmm. We could have all this right wing, crazy national.
I mean, it's weird.
Life is it moves like a pendulum on a clock. You got a lot of clocks, Chris, and you'll know this. When it swings way hard over there right, that thing's going to come crashing back to the left. and it's going to be their fault for taking it so far to the right that it turns down Oconee County blue.
Right, but let me just finish it by saying this, and it's important. Everybody, when I go out and I see people or talk to people, let's face it, man, we're just regular people. We're all adults. We're just regular people. When you start hearing these weird platitudes that people are saying, like communists and globalists and all this, oh, there's no growth, and you got all these cement trucks running around building crap. I'm telling you guys, you have a hard choice that you're going to make in this next election. This kid has acquired power, and he's like at a lollipop store. He's immature. He throws weird crap out there. You go up to that Mountain Rest precinct and look at the crap that he allows on those signs offending any company that wants to come here. And they just spent $25 million on a bond for sewer. And the journal,
Chris,
the journal.
I need to stop you, Chris. I need to stop you. Hold on.
Well, I was getting into the journal. Go ahead.
But it's not $25 million spent. They borrowed $25 million.
It's going to be 43.
And I got some information this week, and it's not even $43 million payback. It's $52 million when it's all said and done. And
Oh
all
my
paid
God!
back.
Now I want to throw up.
Okay, we went from 43 to 52 million now.
Oh God in heaven!
And don't forget the sewer rates have been raised 20%.
Yeah, let's don't talk about that because if you look on your bill,
property taxes have gone up.
And the payback on that bond is not 5%. It's
so please
8%.
Tell me
8%.
Please tell me why.
Oh boy, that's some good sleuthing, Randy. Let me say one thing about the journal.
You just called
let me say sleuthing.
No,
let me
you
say
just
one thing about
Randy,
the journal.
Randy.
I'm Randy by nature.
Okay, go
ahead.
No,
I called him Mandy. Okay, so Randy, this is what's important about the journal. They own the paper. They who have the gold make the rules. But if they want to sit there and actually try to convince people they are objective with the crap that they're pushing, I'm sorry, guys. You can call me a dumbass like Christy Hubbard all you want. I'm not stupid. You are not objective at all. You mocked me when I said something about doing proper due diligence. You are on the side of the OCC and you're driving this county into a disaster. You're not objective. But I do like reading your paper. Okay, that's it.
But what was David Dowell makes a great comment here. You talk about the journal. It was, in our view, editorial right after the OJ SRA voted to send the issue about the bond to the AG. How did they attack this? They went on the attack.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Their response to me was that they get to have an opinion. News is news. News is just fact. Is that not what news is? News should be. And just looking back, and not everyone watching or listening will understand, but
a newspaper.
Ashton Hester. Okay, got news.
Newspaper should be objective.
Yes.
Straight down the middle. Okay.
Yeah.
We are a talk show.
Yeah.
We four have our opinions on how we feel about things. Our show is designed for the community to add their input, such as the folks that are on the chat boards tonight that are chatting us.
Exactly, Jeff.
That's why we're all.
But a newspaper should be objective. For example, the Greenville News or the Anderson Independent, they're supposed to write the stories. They wrote stories to tell of things, whether it involved a county issue, a local issue. That is what news does. They write about stories. Local radio news is the same way. Okay, they do news stories. The national side is supposed to do news stories. Now, some could sit here and argue on this show that we have certain things that lean left, such as whether you're listening to Fox News or MSNBC. And the question is, they are opinion based. They are not, to me, a legitimate news source. CBS News, NBC News, ABC News, 7 o'clock. That's supposed to be your independent fact news.
Like
And
night,
Associated
Like
Press.
nightly news, like nightly news.
Like you think old school, you think Walter Cronkite.
That's exactly
giving
right.
you what happened today, you know, the events of the day, the just factual what happened today.
And Associated Press.
AP, Reuters, the old United Press International. That's
NPR. NPR is usually just
NPR can go either way for
Yeah.
me. I mean, they have their spill that they lean left, or they have their spill
Right.
sometimes. NPR is, to me, can go either way.
And you have
But
one
a
page of AP
newspaper-
on the journal.
A newspaper should be fact based. For
Exactly.
example, when J.A. Gallimore, Chris, you don't know this individual. Rannie, you don't. Cathy, you may remember J.A. When J.A. Gallimore owned the newspaper, he owned the journal. You know, J.A. reported the news, but then J.A. told his opinion in his editorial. That's what an editorial column is
that's
for.
the idea.
That's the idea.
Then you
Yeah.
have people come
That-
in
that
and you get both sides.
You get both sides. That's what an editorial is supposed to be.
And you can generally tell from the writer, and they may even just come out and say,
yes,
one way or
we're
the
for
other.
this or not.
Yeah,
But anytime you read the paper here lately, it's one sided.
yeah.
And again, if all of this had been going on prior to Matt Durham or Don Mize being elected to the council, if we still had Julian, John, and Paul Kane on the council, I can guarantee you with my life that the newspaper would have blistered every one of them in the paper over and over and over again. Had it been those three that pulled this stunt that we've seen with the budget, we've seen with this bond crap, and now we just had another budget amendment to add $1 million and something half dollars to the current budget for this year. The highest budget, wait a minute, the highest budget in Oconee County history.
Come on, Jeff. They dropped the budget. They
Well,
saved.
well, hold on.
remember?
No, hold on.
Hey,
Let
Come
me-
on, they saved.
I've been looking at this. I read the Communist Manifesto newsletter that came out praising what they did.
Mhm.
$1.4 million in additional revenue that they didn't account for that came in from fuel sales at the airport. Now hold on. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Now that meant that it's money that they felt like they had to spend, not put into revenue accounts that this guy created, all these extra accounts. So they could have put that money across all of those things and held on to it. Right.
Mhm.
But again, like Chris said, this immature leader that feels like he's in a candy store looking at lollipops, he got a $10 bill burning a hole in his pocket. He wanted to buy
It's
a brand
like
new
the story of the three little
So-
pigs.
Right. But this guy, he's like, I'm going to buy new guns for the sheriff's office. Now, I've been trying to study on that a little bit. Why do they need
What's
new?
wrong with the old gun?
Well, and there's nothing wrong with the old guns, and this is why.
How many
because
times they ever
they
even
only
shot
get-
them things?
Well, they only get 50 rounds twice a year, so that's 100 rounds a year. And Glock, I went and looked at Glocks, and hopefully that's what they carry. I don't know, but Glocks are rated to not wear out until 150,000 rounds, and they don't even sit on their website. You don't even have to clean them until the first 1,000 rounds if you don't want.
Wow.
So they're not worn out. It's just like them cowboy hats. They just want something new and Gucci at our expense.
Mm.
Now we have a very big
They law.
we have a very big revenue generating rock crusher that's constantly broken. $1 million, $1.4 million spent at the rock crusher could probably been turned in to $22 million in the next 5 years because of the revenue that the rock crusher would
We could have just
pay
got
us.
another crusher
Right.
and been crushing twice.
So, you know, this I'm a conservative.
Weak.
I'm doing great stuff. He's buying Gucci stuff. I'd hate to see him at Neiman Marcus on a shopping spree with Cathy because, you know, women be shopping.
Let me ask this question.
And so does Matt. That's why he don't want no stores in the county because he'd be shopping.
He'd be
but
shopping.
this surplus is
Yeah,
going
shop
to
here.
the sheriff's department.
And the trash dump for a compactor, for
Okay.
a bulldozer at the trash dump.
Okay. So,
And we surely can't pave no roads.
but yet we have a alleged study that is supposed to be allegedly coming
Oh, baby.
employee salaries.
And those
Did-
people got to be starving to death
okay,
by now.
Is it me or do I see an issue here? Look, I want to make sure that our deputies are protected and they have all the equipment, but what about all of these radios that we've bought? Radios, so that we all can communicate with everybody. All right, now you're saying they want guns now? Is that what it is, Randy?
Yeah, it said guns.
Okay,
That's what it said
so
in his
all
newsletter.
right, now we've got to have new guns. Okay, now we're putting the armored things in the cop cars. But yet we have employees that are still not making any money. They've not gotten a raise. We have roads. Now, again, over half of the roads in the county are state responsibility. And if you're pissed off why your road hadn't been paved, I would call the state legislatures. Okay? The state is responsible. We have a gas tax that we haven't seen a damn dime of that gas tax money to start paving these roads up here. We've got bridges.
Well,
wait a minute. We've got bridges that have been out for over a year and a half now. In case in point, Burnt Tanyard Road, the cut across from West Union or from 183 to the backside of Salem. Okay, that road's been out for over a year and a half. Here's what's funny.
Dude
They
lives
paved
under that.
they paved the road on Burnt Tanyard, but they didn't fix the bridge yet.
Can't.
And see, that's my point. We've got bridges that are out all over the place. These are state. The whole thing about these roads, there's a certain responsibility of the county, which are county roads, that the county needs to maintain. Well, they haven't maintained those roads either. But 75 to 80% of the roads in Oconee County are state roads. Somebody needs to be picking up the phone and calling Thomas and Bill and the other Bill and all of them and say, look, where is our money? You have President of the Senate, Thomas Alexander, the powerful man over the Senate, that we can
His
go.
road ain't out.
But wait a minute. No, but we can spend money on other things to give to businesses like $800,000, $900 something thousand to build a new printing business in Oconee County. Tax money, y'all. That's tax money that was paid to build a brand new printing facility. Oh, they call it economic development. But yet your county roads and your state roads are falling all apart. I mean, every time that we sit up here and we post something about the roads. Chris just posted a couple of days ago a very funny meme about a road with duct tape on it. Did y'all see that? The comments on that? I mean, 135 shares, 135 likes, and everybody's saying the same thing. Understand, the state roads are the majority of the roads that are screwed up. The county has about 20-something% of those roads, but nothing's getting done. And we've paid a state sales tax for since 4 years, 5 years now. We've been paying that sales tax on gas. I'm just telling you.
Well, I can tell you that for 39 years I've been here, and there's a bridge on the road that I grew up on. And in my lifetime, I'm going to tell you that bridge has been out, and it is county. It is county. That bridge has been out more than it has been in service.
I want to say something. Gwen McPhail has checked in on our show tonight. Gwen, is glad to have you with us here on Let's Talk Oconee. And she says, quote, if I've been told correctly, we have a paving machine in Oconee. The county should ask for our gas tax funds back in the form of a grant from the state and let our excellent county crews pave our roads. That seems like, Gwen, that's too easy. That would be an easy solution to start working and getting our revenue back to Oconee, because most of the gas tax right now is used to build I-26 to expand it for that inland port. That's where all the money's going. It's going to Charleston to get it all the way to Greer.
It's going to Greer.
Yeah, to Greer, to have all the roads widened for this inland port. Well, while the rest of the county and the rest of the state, our roads are dilapidated. It's a shame when you drive across state line.
Mm-hmm.
When you hit the bridge, listen, when you hit exit 1 down here, ka-flop, ka-flop, ka-flop on 85.
Yep.
And then you drive over across the Tougaloo River on Hartwell side, it's smooth sailing all the way down South 85 in Georgia.
Hit 441.
Same thing. Zoom. Or go up 107, and they only pave 2 miles right there from the fish hatchery to the state line. Once you cross past the fish hatchery coming down 107, ka-flop, ka-flop, ka-flop. It's getting to the point even the hitchhiker doesn't even want to get picked up anymore on 107.
Yeah.
So,
bad.
I mean, the roads of 59 is so bad that you have to drive like it's a ski slalom, and there's more potholes than there is the road.
Yeah.
These are simple things that our citizens want. And I believe wholeheartedly that there's 3 candidates. One already been on the council. He knows. But the two current that's running against the incumbents, they are listening to the people. And the people, this is what the people said, even when I ran 2 years ago. It's the same thing. We want our roads paved. We want our infrastructure taken care of. And that's what we want as citizens. That's what we want to have happen. None of this bull crap about taking out a friggin' bond for a sewer pipe to nowhere, to absolutely friggin' nowhere. And now all of a sudden we're hearing again, here it comes. We're going to have this lustrous grand development pop up down there on Interstate 1 at Exit 1. Look, if the state wants that, then Governor McMaster needs to come up here and pay for that.
Hold on. We need to stop funding residential developers.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that from that newsletter that everybody got?
No, this is from this thing here says we
came in the
we
mail.
need to stop funding residential developers.
I didn't get that.
I did.
So
I wish I got it.
Durham slams the door on lucrative deals for developers, except
That's a lie.
for $42 million worth of bond money is going down to Exit 1 so that they can build a casino, golf course, hotel, whatever. So that's he closed the door for developers in the rest of the county, but he sure opened it wide open down there.
Yeah, you sure did.
Yeah.
Let's don't allow Seneca to grow, but let's go to the middle of nowhere so somebody can put up a Cherokee Indian casino or something crazy down there on the lake.
Whatever they think that they're gonna, and that's not the lake. I don't know what y'all have looked at down there, but I mean, I don't know why they think anybody wants to build something. Have y'all ever been to a resort on the interstate?
No,
Yeah, they make $80 an hour, everybody, don't they?
Well, here's the deal. So you're down there, let's say they build a golf course. Now, folks, if you know where I'm talking about, you know what I'm about to say. You down there, you teed it up on the first hole, and you're ready to have a great game of playing 18 rounds. And all of a sudden, before you come down and you swing that driver, ka-thump, wah,
Exactly.
wah. Well, I'm excited.
Hey,
Think about,
and I would do my horn too.
think about a nice restaurant. And,
Yes.
and you're
Like the Sizzler.
patio over the lake, and here comes a semi. I mean,
Well, I mean, you're going to have that when you have bad planning and
Yes.
a lot of growth.
There is no damn
I mean,
planning.
it's just like going into
who doesn't want to spend $200 for, a decent meal and the background of the interstate? I mean,
Oh, look, Daddy Lou, there goes a chicken truck crossing 85.
Exactly. Nothing says romantic meal
As a
like
chicken,
a chicken truck.
that has a fresh or the chicken manure. I mean, that smells like my T-bone steak smells right.
well,
Oh golly, that's why you need ketchup.
but I want to go on into this thing here.
Do I need to have it ready?
Yeah, there've been a lot of door knocking
Yeah.
going on in Walhalla, and I had the
Kids,
opportunity.
had your wife and had your husband.
I had an opportunity
Kids,
to
had your wife
interview
and had your
Antoine
husband.
Watson about his
The kids
encounter with
had
Matt
your
Durham,
wife
and this is
and
what
had
he
your
had to say.
The
He
kids
said,
had
just
your
get out of
wife
that guy's
and
way.
had your husband.
But
The
I know,
kids had your wife and had your husband.
so that's enough of that guy. All right. But anyways, yeah, Antoine was very excited that Matt was in town. So
David Dial just said the quote of the night. He said, "There's a reason." He said, "There's a reason the topless places does so good. Come get them Oconee boobs, baby."
Reason the top does so good.
all right, but for real though, woo! This mailer that came out says no more taxpayer funded high density residential student housing. Residential/student housing. Now every time the OCC goes out to talk, they talk about that their kids don't have a place to stay
Yep.
in the county. They can't afford to live here.
Mm.
But
you hear the cuckoo clocks.
yeah, I hear that. But the problem with that is they don't want to build residential high density housing
They don't
apartments
affordable housing.
near the municipalities that are going to be affordable for those kids. I mean,
Nope.
your kids going to get DUIs, they're going to get drug convictions, they're going to all that stuff. They can't afford a $300,000 house. And you
everything
can't
that's
buy a
come
house
in.
for less than $300,000 in this market. Interest rates are too high. The cost of materials are too high. You just can't happen.
Are you talking about build one or buy one?
Build them or buy them.
Well, you can buy them, but they're not going to be typical of what you're going to be able to.
But what do what do your children want to live in? They want to live in a resort style area that's got 2 swimming pools, lots of nice, attractive people around, gaming areas. They want to have nice stuff. They don't want to live in a trailer on the backside of
the Mill Hill.
The Mill Hill. They don't want that. They want nice
Well,
stuff.
they've gotten rid of the Mill Hill anyway, pretty much. I mean,
Well, yeah, the gentrification that's going on over there with the Great Southern Homes coming in to build 12,000 houses over there, none of them are going to be less than $300,000. So nobody's going to be able. No working class people are going to be able to afford those.
Well, the one I'm referring to is back behind. That's Ryan Home subdivision, and there's about 250,000 a piece.
Yeah, but you can't do that working at Walmart.
No, you can't.
You can't do that
you
working
can't do
at
that working at a plant.
you,
really,
You can't do that your first 5 years. You're at Itron or Warner. It's not going to happen.
You can't. People
That's
cannot
not gonna
work,
happen.
and people
So-
cannot afford those houses.
Police officers, EMS that are getting paid nothing.
County
Firefighters,
workers,
county
can't-
workers.
no.
They can't afford that. They need this high density residential stuff, and they get discounts for law enforcement to live in those places because that's built in security.
That
you know?
absolutely
It's
is
true, absolutely.
So it's not like they're going to run them off and say, "Hey, sorry, you got to go up Whitecut and live in a trailer." It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So to be against putting high density apartments in Seneca or in Walhalla where the people are, it's stupid to be.
It is stupid.
They're stupid to be against that because
There needs
there's
to be affordable housing.
because they say in their own words they want their children to be able to live here. But let's develop this place with things that are going to cause our children to have to leave. Because when you bring these $60 to $80 an hour jobs in here, people are going to rush in here from all over the place where they don't pay that. And if your kids got no skills, they're going to have to go somewhere and get those skills before they can come back and have those jobs. But you don't. $80 an hour is not unskilled labor.
No, but Rannie, that when they're talking about $40 to $60, $80 an hour, that's crazy. It doesn't even make business sense at all.
But even
look at where the market is.
Even at $30 an hour without
which is above the market here,
or a technical degree from some sort of certificates or something like that, without some sort of qualifications, you're not making $30 to $35 an hour. You're going to make 18 at the most until you prove your worth. Right. And with $18 an hour, you're not going to be able to afford a decent living accommodations. So unless there are high density residential areas for you.
Yeah. Where are all these industries that are coming to 85 when they put the sewer out there? Where are all these people going to live? Because they cannot afford these new neighborhoods that are being built. They can't.
That's why June the 11th, that there is an election. And that's why it's time. You need to put some people in county council that's actually going to sit and listen to the actual people. That's what you got to do. That's the only way that you're going to save Oconee County. If you intend to save Oconee and stop this madness right now that has enveloped, there's 2 people you've got to get rid of, and that is Matt Durham and that's Glenn Hart. I can't say it no more plainer. That's the only way that you are going to stop this county from a free fall, because I'm here to tell you, you can take it to the bank, you can cash it, whatever you want to do. If those 2 are reelected and they're put back in there, the county that I grew up in, Cathy, you've lived here, Rannie, you've been a part of this, Chris, you've been here, the county that we all 4 know cease to exist. It will be special interest on top of special interest. You will not recognize the whole area. It's coming. It's completely coming. That's the only way that you're going to stop and save Oconee, is that 2 of them have to go.
Yes. Hey, Jeff, let me say a couple of things. So when you look at what we have right now with these guys and who they support, these guys always come up with this imaginary boogeyman for all their trouble. Like an example, Durham says the same crap that other people say, like communist, global. What people need to do is they need to regress back to just being like they're in high school. They would call things much quicker. Hey, that's bullshit. That doesn't make sense. That's not even smart. And I'll tell you what you do is when they start throwing out these things, they do it for deflection, just like Tony Adams does in the Booger Eater. Okay. So what you have to do is do, I'm a perfect example. Do not be afraid to question and be called a dumbass, because this is one dumbass that's living on the lake. Thank you.
Well, don't be talking about my cousin like that, Chris.
So,
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's right. I thought he was your brother. Go ahead.
But I want to bring this this lawsuit that the county's going through up. I want to talk.
Oh, I got some
Which
dirt on that.
Hey, by the
So-
way,
And there
yeah,
more than one?
which one? Because
So-
I hear rumors
Oh,
that there
yeah.
potentially is another lawsuit forthcoming.
I would say
And a third one.
that are fixing to happen. But Section 10, Article 10, Section 12 of the South Carolina Constitution reads like this. Sideways. Let me find it now. Heck on it. I was trying to make it big enough I could read it. Bear with me just a second. Have another piece of chicken while I'm getting there. All right. Counties not to incur bonded indebtedness for special services in certain areas without special tax or charge on area or persons benefited. No law shall be enacted permitting the incurring of bonded indebtedness by any county for sewage disposal or treatment, fire protection, street lighting, garbage collection and disposal, water services, or any other services or facility benefiting only a particular geographical section of the county, unless a special assessment, tax, or service charge in an amount designed to provide debt service on bonded indebtedness or revenue bonds incurred for such purposes shall be imposed upon the area or persons receiving the benefit therefrom. Now, that's what the South Carolina Constitution says.
Randy,
Now,
let me ask this: do you have that OJRSA stuff?
yeah, I've got all kind of stuff, but
I really would like for you to, if you've got time before we get off, can you pull
Right.
that up? Because I really would like for you to read that.
yeah, I'll go back. I want to say this
yeah, go
first,
ahead.
and then I'll go look at it. Durham and Mize and Hart are not constitutional minded conservatives, because if they were, they would have read that and they would know that no matter how progressive Julian is when he brought up bonding for sewer, that it just can't happen. Whether or not Julian did that or didn't do that or whatever they want to say, they all voted for it. And the Constitution says you can't do it. So
Randy, let me give you an opinion of I can't name the person. I had a long discussion with him that was in government, and we had a nice argument. But what it boiled down to was this: the people suing don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're against the people. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, the people in Georgia, they do this, and everybody else does the same thing. And I said, but it's against the Constitution. It doesn't matter. They all do it. And I said, I'm going to tell you something that you need to listen to. When you're in a courtroom and you try a defense, like Matthew or these guys say, well, everybody else is doing it. I want to be there when the judge looks at him. I want to see the judge's face. The law is the law.
Here's the thing, Chris. The Constitution is a covenant between the government of South Carolina and the people of South Carolina,
which is the law, right?
This is a binding agreement that the government said we will protect you from unruly behavior, right? Now, Matthew Durham, Amanda Brock, David Root, Liddell Price, Michael Koshigak, and Brent Robertson, when they went to New York and they got that bond and came back down here, they broke that covenant with the people of Oconee County.
Are you a lawyer?
No, but I can read.
Exactly. But I want to ask you a question. I want to ask my co-host a question.
But the covenant,
it's in the Constitution, right?
The
thing
covenant
is that they are. Several of them are, and they should know better.
Right.
They're lawyers.
The agreement that the people that moved to the state of South Carolina, that moved here, were born here, everybody that agrees with living in South Carolina and paying taxes, the Constitution is there to protect them. Now,
exactly.
These government officials broke that covenant with the people, period. It says so. They can't do it. Now, they want to use that general obligation bond for Sewer South, then those folks down at Fair Play should have had a referendum, said, yes, we're willing to pay for it.
Should have been a referendum.
That,
And that's
like
that's the way it's supposed to
Corner
be.
Shallow's doing right now with their fire protection assessment. They're putting it on the ballot. They're going to vote for it. It's either going to happen or it won't happen. Right? It happened to Kiwi Key, but it says right there in the Constitution, fire service. You can't charge somebody for extra taxes for fire service just in one place and expect you can't have something in Seneca and expect me in Mountain Rest to pay for it.
That's right.
Because that affects my liberty. That affects my freedom and my livelihood because I'm paying more in taxes.
Well, that's it. It's an unnecessary evil to your for taxes. You should not be held responsible to pay for something that's happening down here in this area.
And here's an example in the county budget. I just went back and I looked at the bonded documents that were published in 2031. The year we were supposed to have no more bond indebtedness in the county. That was years over. On April 1st of 2031, we're going to owe $3,135,165. $3,135,165. That's the year we're supposed to not have. That was supposed to be the last year we had any bonded debt for anything. We'd be out of debt with the bond with bond service, but instead now we're on the hook all the way to 2043, $1,047,000 a year.
Don't like that.
For what? For what?
Yeah.
They can't tell us. They can't show us anything. No, they said it's
remember
because they made bad decisions. That's the answer. That is your answer.
But remember
decision.
Remember too that phase 1 and phase 2 was paid with state grant money.
And you know what?
Yeah.
Phase 3 was going to be funded through this bond, but phase 3 is not going to cost $25 million.
Just like he says here, no more taxpayer funded high density residential student housing. Why isn't he saying no more county funded business opportunities? Because that's what needs to happen. You know, there's no industry coming to Golden Corner Commerce Park. They're going to spend $17 million down there grading that thing. And then they're going to be like, well, they still ain't coming. And 5 years from now, they're going to get some cockamamie damn idea that, well, maybe if we put concrete down and we just pave the whole thing and put up spec buildings.
That's it. You just said
then maybe, you know, the lady that makes the, you know, edible underwears or whatever, she'll come in here and she'll do that. And then she's going to come look at the building. Well, you know what? It was 20,000, you know, square inches too short. And we needed something bigger, so we're going to Livonia where we can build our own.
Hey, Richard brings up Richard Belmore. Good point. Kiwi Key has their own sewer treatment, so why should residents there be taxed for Sewer South?
I've got my own sewer treatment. I don't need to be taxed any.
What is the other gated community right off 11 right there? What is it? Not Cross Creek. They have the golf course. Chickasaw Point
they
has
have their
own.
Yeah.
I mean, the high school over there has their own sewage.
Gwen, I'm going to answer something you're posting. I've heard this, but I can't confirm it yet. Speaking of fire service, I have heard that it is true that the county has bought the old Dollar General building in Fairplay, plan to put an all-paid fire staff there to serve the expected growth in Fairplay. Somebody has said that.
Well,
I heard that.
But here's the thing. The county cannot do that. Without an assessment, without a referendum from the people of Fairfield to pay for that, because if they don't send paid firefighters on a 5-day a week, 8-hour a day basis to Mountain Rest, they can't have that in Fairplay. I don't give a shit. That's what the Constitution says. So either put one in every station, or don't put any.
Can Fairplay have a referendum because they're not incorporated, right? They have that Fairplay development or whatever they've got going on down there.
Luke, I'm going to answer your question. Yes, Countyland Station has been staffed. They've officially taken over the area. I think this is week number 3. And I'll be honest with you, knowing what I know, it has been a struggle for Bountyland to run these calls. In henceforth, Friday night, there was an accident at Bountyland, and the fire trucks could not get out of the Bountyland Fire Department because traffic was backed up from the red light all the way past up South Cove Road, heading back towards the old Career Center. Just as I predicted would happen, it happened. So the only way the fire department got there, they had to go all the way up Kiwi School Road, come out at Tanglewood 2 and at Middle Park, then come back down 28. And do you know, by that time, the Seneca Fire Department had already gotten there to the accident. That happened. That was the worst place you could have built a fire department. It was. You could have put the fire department somewhere on Sheep Farm Road, and you'd have had equal access in and out. But I'm telling you, until that road interchange, something's done to it.
Well,
That you're not. They're not going to be.
Dobbs or whatever up right there at the CVS because they didn't want people turning into the
Exactly.
CVS that way.
Exactly.
They did that to accommodate CVS so people couldn't turn, and now nobody can get through.
Well, and now that the Bountyland's been sold to Texaco and that customers are actually willing to go back there, it's gotten even more crowded.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
and again, like I said, that is going to be an issue.
all right. So what you wanted me to read was the articles of,
and everybody, I need y'all to listen up. This came from the incorporation from 2007.
Yep.
I want you to listen to what Rannie's about to read, because this is real important.
Right, this article's incorporation for the OJSRA, Article 1, 2. It's on page A10, Article 3, powers. And it says the authority may not pledge any property or assets of members of the authority provided. However, the authority may pledge the anticipated revenue to be derived from payment from the members for the treatment of effluent discharge by those members. All pledges of assets of the authority, issuance of revenue bonds, and the creation of any debt of the authority shall be approved by its members. Okay, so that doesn't mean that David Dial and 6 other guys that are on the OJSRA board get to decide they want to go get a bond. They have to send it out to all of the OJSRA customers and say, hey, are you okay with a $95 fee coming for the next 10 years to expand our sewer system?
Now, I want to reiterate what you just said. Define members.
It has to be it's the customers.
Okay.
Everybody that's currently attached to it has to agree to that.
Then why are we not being asked as customers of the OJSRA? Why are we not being?
Let me go up here and make
you
sure
and
I
Cathy.
Yeah.
A member shall mean either City of Seneca, City of Walhalla, or the City of West member. So members or the cities can decide. The customers don't. Okay, I wanted to make sure.
I wanted that clarified too. I was getting ready to say.
But all 3 cities have to agree, right? And they should be talking to the citizens in their cities like, hey, your taxes are going to go up if I make this decision. Is that what you want?
No, that's not happening.
No, we didn't get that.
But
nope.
But nowhere in the OJSRA documents or state constitution does it say that you can bond for sewer without having done some due diligence and know how much revenue you're going to get back, so that you can anticipate how long it's going to take you to pay it off.
And you ain't got no revenue now.
So,
and you can't. There's figures you cannot even come up with.
Well, they could.
How? If you got nothing, you can't come up with nothing.
Right. But OJSRA could say, hey, look, we're going to bring on these 9 new developments, and they'd have to say that. These 9 new developments are going to pay us this much, and it's going to cost us much to do it.
But whereas those developments are not at fair play. The
right.
developments would be up here.
Right. So the general obligation bond option is not an option for sewer in South Carolina. It's not.
Interesting. Real quickly, is there anything else that we need to discuss that we've not discussed tonight?
I want to say one thing.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Please. Okay, so I want to make this I want to be very direct, and I want to make this very simple. So Rannie talked about this bond, and basically it boils down to it's over $50 million, over 50. So here's the thing that's very important that people need to understand. We're talking about all this, but what it basically boils down to is this. We have all this debt because what this council has done is doing speculative investment. They have no idea if it's going to be successful because they did not do any due diligence. They said this will bring jobs. There's no proof it will. And it doesn't mean you have commitments from businesses. It just means that you've done the proper due diligence before you make that type of investment. Everybody does that. Companies do it. The Journal bashed me on that. Government's different. Okay, so what the Journal was telling me is we're repeating exactly what happened in Golden Corner Commerce Park. Speculative. Nothing happened. And the Journal's saying what we're going to do is this. It's our money only in the respect that we're just a piece of that taxpayer. But everybody needs to understand there was no due diligence. It's all speculative. We have no proof we're ever going to make a dime off this. And what's going to happen when we're not getting it like we should? You're going to have all these crappy paid businesses coming in here to gobble up, and it cost us over $50 million to get it. And my whole thing is this. With all this craziness on the council, Durham and Hart and all these other guys, I want somebody boring that actually knows what they're talking about. That's all I'm asking for. A business person that actually knows that somebody's going to say it that simple. I am not going to use your money in a speculative investment. I'm going to protect you because I care about you because you're my neighbor. They don't give a crap.
All right, Randy.
So yeah, I just want to go back to this mail out thing real quick.
Yep.
This guy
Matter of
says,
fact, we're going to go ahead and start winding it down.
That's fine. But you know, my opinion of this is Durham spent $3,000 to send out a flyer to tell everyone he's an idiot because his immature leadership is going to do nothing but cost the county more and more money, and your taxes are going to go up and up and up. And he can say I'm conservative all he wants to, but he's spending money like women be shopping.
Our money.
Yeah, our
I
money.
agree.
Kathy, anything you want to add?
I was just going to ask, did anybody see if that, I was going to come back around and say, did anybody see if there was actually a retraction from what was said?
So I saw something online. I don't get the paper anymore, so I did see the Journal write something else, but it wasn't a real big Haber story.
No, real big. Yeah.
Ruin, you want to add anything for a final?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
All right, listen
Don't
up.
forget KFC.
30% off with the Let's Talk Oconee.
Oh, I won't touch KFC anymore. Not here.
Get your coupon at LTO.com.
I want to share something with you that was shared by Gwen McPhail. And, of course, Gwen McPhail is running for District 5 council seat. I think you'll find this interesting. It is also interesting to me that I'm being attacked for supporting a student housing project behind Paul's Diner when what I actually said was that the majority of sewer requests to the OJSRA come from the Ravenel district. So that's that particular area in there around the Clemson area, and it is. And perhaps that would be a better place to invest some of the $25 million bond the county floated. It's a moot point at this time, but the recently approved projects include major repair work on a forced main sewer line for the OJSRA being completed by the developer, which they just signed off on that. That will help defray the cost for the sewer authority to get out from under the DHEC constant order and alleviate the necessary for taxpayers and or sewer users to bear the burden of the expense. Can't quite figure out why the project got a fee in lieu of deal with incentives and the other got to pay for pipe repairs, but that's a question for another day. The new project will most likely pay significant impact fees, more dollars in the county coffers that help cover the cost of the growing community. This lady right here has it summed up. She has it nailed down. And I tell you right now, along with her and India Lancaster sitting on that county council, I see great things happening in Oconee. And we can stop this shit show that we've got right now with the three. Because believe me, folks, it is an utter disaster, and it is a complete shit show. So that's it. Hey, great show, Chris. I hope you get to feeling better, my friend.
Can I say one thing about my conversations with Chris? I'm not going to say names. I've got a interview coming up with 4 women from 4 different generations that professionals. And I want to understand what they've seen change in the workplace, what they've seen change as far as healthcare. You know, it's just going to be a very open dialogue. And I'm really honored that I'm going to be able to do it because if anything, I believe we desperately need women in leadership positions in this county.
Absolutely. All right, Randy, good job tonight. Cathy, thank you all. Good job. And thank you, Chris. Sean, real quickly to answer your question, we'll have to wait and see about the thoughts on the new City of Westminster hiring a new police chief. His credentials look good. I think he's a good hire. We'll just have to sit and wait and see. I think he's welcome to the City of Westminster.
Welcome.
And LTO will be having some interviews with some of the candidates running in the local offices and the races June the 11th. Coming up on June the 1st, LTO will be broadcasting the big candidate forum that will be taking place at South Cove. Airtime will be at 9 o'clock with my normal music show, 11 o'clock for the candidate forum. For Chris, Randy, and Cathy, I'm Jazzy Jeff. Let's talk OconeeSC.com. Have a good night, everyone.